A little bit about yourself for the audience. I was thinking you and I did the same, but I went to Andy Woods. You went to Rice. You went to Hubbard.
Correct.
And then you graduated from Robert E. Lee.
That is correct.
You went on to Baylor.
Yes. I was a biologist. I wish.
I mean, you're a good golfer. Everybody knows that.
I can be a good golfer. But I started out as a biology major and was dead set on going to med school. And my sophomore year at Baylor, I took a political science class because you have to. Fell in love with it. It came so natural to me. And the passion that I had for it then, I felt like this is where I'm called to be. This is where I'm called to serve. And so I switched my major, dove headfirst into political science, got a job at a law firm, got involved, volunteered.
And after that, before you went to law school, did you work at the Capitol?
I did. So second semester senior year, I was awarded the Bob Bullock Scholarship. And with that came an internship at the Capitol in Austin. And then that dovetailed into staying down there and working prior to going to law school.
It's my time right now. Yeah, this is my time right now.
Welcome to another episode of East Texas Unfiltered. This is a special edition. We're going to talk to one of two mayoral candidates that are in the runoff. Stuart Hene, Councilman District 1. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Chad, for having me. I appreciate it.
We did Mr. Nix, John Nix, last week, and now this is an opportunity for the people that want to watch these to watch them and learn more about you as a person and also you and your career and your positions as it relates to this race.
Sure.
Thank you for agreeing to come on here.
Absolutely.
I think transparency and information are really what people are really desiring more and more from the politicians. I mean, you probably experienced that as a councilman.
Absolutely. And in fact, just this week, because transparency is so big with my campaign and my platforms, we hosted a teletown hall this week, and we had a little over 100 people on this town hall conference where people could call in, ask questions, unfiltered, where we are answering people's questions that are calling in. So yes, transparency is a huge focal point of my campaign.
Well, yeah. I mean, if they call in with a question, it's not like it's written down before and the office, people can't manage those questions.
Correct.
That's a lot more transparent.
A lot more transparency. And in fact, there were a couple where people were asking questions and I'm trying to give the answer and they're trying to go ahead and ask a follow-up question as I am answering. And so yes, a lot of back and forth with people that I've never met before and talked with and having real conversations about issues.
Well, and there's also the political friction aspect. Some people don't approach the questions with complete sincerity.
Sure.
Right? I mean, some people ask you questions to try to get you to say something or take out a position that they later can criticize. And some people are truly looking for, answers and your positions.
Sure. Absolutely.
I mean, you feel that way?
Oh, yeah. There's people trying to play that gotcha moment and back you into a corner. But then there's, like you said, also people that truly care about the city, about the direction we're headed, and want more information so they can make an informed decision themselves.
I mean, Tyler historically has been a well-run city. Right?
I would agree.
Very philanthropic city.
Absolutely.
There's never been a whole lot to fight over at city government in the past that I can recall since I've been here.
Thankfully, we call ourselves a special, city separate from whether it's Dallas or Austin or Houston or really any city in the state of Texas. We kind of set ourselves apart from these other cities because of how special living in Tyler is and how special everybody really works together, whether it's the private sector, the public sector, or the philanthropic nonprofit sector. It's a three-legged stool that I call it, and you got to have everybody working together, rowing in the same direction.
Also, with the elections being nonpartisan, and Smith County politicians seeming to adhere to that, do you think that's led to a lot more unity on the decisions made with the council and the mayor?
I think so, because you are representing not just one group of people or one neighborhood or one section of the city. You're truly representing the entirety of the city, because when you make a decision, it's everybody's tax dollars that are going to a certain project or a certain decision. And so you got to keep that in mind. Do I need to advocate for District 1 since I'm the council person for District 1? Yes. But at the end of the day, the decisions that I make are using taxpayer dollars from across the entirety of the city. And that's something you got to be mindful of.
Well, and some decisions have to be made for the overall benefit of the city, as
Absolutely.
opposed to, a Republican Democrat or a District 1 versus District 6 type of issue.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, bigger cities seem to they bring politics into city government, when really y'all will never be deciding on any of the social issues that really divide the country.
I sure hope not. And that's what I tell people when somebody wants us to bring a social issue in front of council. I feel like we have bigger concerns and more important concerns with the city. Water, infrastructure related to roads, sewer, stormwater, your police department, your fire department, your quality of life in Parks and Rec. I feel like those are more important issues that our attention should be focused on instead of some of these peripheral social issues that really shouldn't be in front of city council.
All right. And we'll circle back to some of that, the process of city government later, but just a little bit about yourself for the audience. I mean, I've read your bio. You went to Andy Woods?
No, I went to
Rice. Oh, yeah,
yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was thinking you and I did the same, but I went to Andy Woods. You went to Rice. You went to Hubbard.
Correct.
And then you graduated from Robert E. Lee.
That is correct.
You went on to Baylor.
Yes.
And after that, it looks like before you went to law school, did you work at the Capitol?
I did. So I was very fortunate where, so a little backstory about Baylor, which is kind of leading into this. I was a biologist. Yeah, I wish.
I mean, you're a good golfer. Everybody knows that.
I can be a good golfer.
You didn't play at Baylor, though.
I did not.
Okay.
No. But I started out as a biology major, pre-med, and was dead set on going to med school. That's what I wanted to do. Senior year of high school, I took so many science classes. Like, this is what I want to do. But it was more, this is what I want to do, I want to do. And my sophomore year at Baylor, I took a political science class because you have to. Fell in love with it. It came so natural to me. And the passion that I had for it then, I felt like this is where I'm called to be. This is where I'm called to serve. And so I switched my major, dove headfirst into political science, got a job at a law firm, got involved, volunteered at places in Waco. And I was fortunate enough that my second semester senior year, I was awarded the Bob Bullock Scholarship. And I think there was about 12 of us that got it within the political science department.
At Baylor.
And with that came an internship at the Capitol in Austin. And so that was really my second semester senior year. I was living in Austin, working at the Capitol. And then that dovetailed into staying down there and working prior to going to law school.
Did you work during a session?
I did.
Okay.
Yes. 2005.
Okay. So 2005, people that don't stay up to date, our legislature doesn't meet every single year, does it?
Correct. Every other year.
All right. And so you happened to catch one of those where they were meeting.
I did. My second semester senior year, that internship was geared towards that session. So January to May. And so when I graduated from Baylor, kind of when the session ended, I was fortunate enough to be able to stay on and work a special session for not who I was interning with.
That's what I was going to say, unless there was a special session.
Correct. Yeah. So I ended up staying down there. I guess that was from June until that next February of 2026, working a couple special sessions.
Were you attached to any particular politician, or were you just supporting an issue or something else, like a lobbying company?
So my internship, I actually worked for, at the time, Senator Kevin Eltife. It was his very first term as a state senator. And then when my internship ended, I was hired by the representative from the Woodlands, who is Rob Eisler, and I worked for him until February of 26.
Do you remember what the special session...
2006. Sorry.
Yeah. Do you remember what the special session issue was about or back then?
I think it was mainly education. He was vice chair of the education committee, and I remember we were focused a lot on some of those educational issues. And so that was, gosh, 20 years ago. But I think that's what our main focus was on.
Well, I mean, when you're my age, which is 58, almost 59, and you look back, I remember those old battles where, some people called it the Robin Hood plan.
Right.
Some people said, hey, you need to fund the schools equally. There was all that debate, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And now look where we've come, where a voucher bill has passed the legislature.
Yeah.
I mean, that's quite a difference between
Big difference.
2005 to where we are today.
Big difference.
I mean, I wonder if they've seen, I haven't heard much about whether or not, those vouchers are working, like people can actually place themselves in private schools and whether that's working or not. Have you heard anything?
I have not, and I haven't looked into it in depth to see if it is or isn't working. I know I'm a proponent of especially our public school system here in Tyler. I think Tyler ISD and Dr. Crawford do a great job. So I'm a proponent of our local school system, but I also know there's a place and a need for private schools and charter schools as well, and they all serve our community for the better.
Yeah, and even before this issue came up, these schools had cropped up and shown up over the years. I mean, you think about, T.K. Gorman had been here for a long time, and All Saints had been here a long time. Grace came along, Cumberland Academy, and then these charter schools and, things. It's just kind of been the evolution of education.
Correct.
I don't know what that means, if that means that people were dissatisfied or seeking something else, but it's happened.
Absolutely.
I mean,
yeah.
And it still costs money to go to, I mean, if you try to go in the private, it costs money, right? But you're right. TISD and the leadership they've had, it seems to be they've kind of tried to keep, public education going as well as they can.
I think so. I think Dr. Crawford has done a great job. I've had a great working relationship with him.
And, does the council, does the mayor, do they ever really have to interact with the school districts? And if so, really, what brings them together?
Absolutely. Me specifically, one of the issues that I have focused on, I guess it's been just recently in the past couple years, but vaping has become a big issue in our schools here.
Yeah.
And that is something as a council, we could kind of help address, because you have a lot of vape shops popping up everywhere where you could kind of, do certain zoning, do certain restrictions on where those can go, how close one can go to another vape shop. You don't need two, next to each other. You don't need them really close to a school. And so I've been very fortunate enough to work with Dr. Crawford on those issues where we have put, parameters in place. And I hope to continue to work with him because I know that's a big concern of his in our school system.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that we know what the long-term health effects are going to be from that.
Correct.
And we may not know for 20 years.
Correct. Yeah.
And so to my kids who continue to try that from time to time, I wish you would stop.
Right.
You're lucky. Your children are not very old.
No, so I have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Right. I've seen you. And I can tell you, as they get older, the problems, they get bigger.
Correct.
So good luck to you,
Thanks, Chad.
Father Hene, as time passes on.
That's right.
You have a connection. My son, Zach, graduated from Oklahoma City Law School.
Okay.
And so I saw that that's where you went.
Absolutely.
He loved it there.
It was great.
He loved Oklahoma City.
It was great.
He got a great education.
Yep.
Passed the bar the first time, including the Texas part now.
Yeah.
And so...
it's a really well-known law school in the state of Oklahoma, and their undergrad program is really good too. When I was there,
Jacob Putman.
Yeah, we were there at the exact same time.
Yeah, I mean D.A. Putman. I know he went there as well.
Yeah, there's several attorneys here in town that went up there.
Yeah, no, it's a good school, but we never really talked about. Okay, you got the internship, you caught the bug at the legislature, and then did you say, "Well, hey, I need to go to law school"?
I had when I switched my major to political science and got a job at a law firm in Waco. I knew I kind of wanted to do that. It didn't work out, really from 2005 with working and where I was looking at going. And it just happened to work out for 2006, career-wise and kind of timing-wise, and where I applied to law school. So that was kind of the timeline of where it fell in. And then did 3 years in Oklahoma City, and knew I wanted to come back to Tyler, doing different internships places and kind of living different places. I knew Tyler being home is where I wanted to come back to.
All right, so you came back, and you ultimately practiced law until, I guess, the present condition, which is the partnership of Terry and Hene.
That is correct. Yeah. So I still practice every day. I gotta have a job.
I mean, well, yeah, and that's a good point for people that don't understand. Sometimes being a council person is a thankless job, but it's also a payless job.
Correct.
Right? I mean, you haven't made any money from any of the service that you've given on the city council since 2021.
You're exactly right. I don't get paid. My water bill isn't free. I don't get health insurance or life insurance from the city. I joke with people and tell people that the weight of city issues and the weight of people calling you with questions is a real thing, because you should have seen how tall I was prior to becoming a councilman. Yeah,
I mean, it can age you. In your situation, it has shrunk you.
Yeah.
But Terry and Hene, how would you describe to the people who are listening, what kind of office practice or practice do you have?
Sure. So we have a small, I guess what's classified today as a boutique type law firm. My law partner does residential real estate, purely transactional work. I handle a lot of different issues. I do general litigation, but my kind of main focus is on business related stuff, business transactional issues, business litigation issues. I do some little oil and gas stuff, and then with the commercial and business stuff, there's also an aspect of some commercial real estate every now and then. So if you have a client that's buying a business or a client selling a business, obviously, they're in a space, and so does that space go with the business? Are they retaining the space? And so that kind of aspect is part of it. But I would say most of my work is business related, and then general civil litigation.
When you say business related, people that are listening and they're not lawyers, they don't understand some of the terminology. Does that mean that you set up business entities like, limited liability corporations? You do the paperwork to give them the protections as a corporation?
Absolutely. That's a part of it. I handle A to Z, setting up an entity for somebody. If somebody wanted to end an entity and dissolve their entities, to doing that as well. If their business gets sued and they're one of my clients, obviously I step in and help them on that end as well. And so it runs the gauntlet. I've even sat in on a lot of board meetings that my clients have. I've even sat in on job interviews when they want to interview and hire top-level execs, and they need another set of eyes and another set of ears. They say, can you come sit on this job interview, and from your perspective and your angles, give us advice of if you think this person is a good fit for the company, or if we, are missing something. And so, it runs everything business related. It just depends on the company and the client.
I mean, would you say, your business has grown as you've continued to do this? I mean, do you have it kind of where you want it to be now with your other endeavors like council, boards, community boards, philanthropy, things like that?
Sure. I think I'm in a good spot where I have been able to balance my time accordingly. I think if I was working for a law firm, it'd be a lot harder to do, where I may be required to have to bill a certain number of hours. I feel like I'm in a good spot where I can work as much as I want, and still be able to spend time focusing on city council issues, focusing on my residential or resident concerns that people bring to me, and then also serving nonprofit. I do a lot of work early in the mornings. I wake up at 5 o'clock every morning, and then I do a lot of work late at night. So that during the day, if city council issues come up, and especially right now, campaign issues and campaign time, I'm able to devote enough time to where I see my priorities are right now.
Well, you've had an opportunity to observe Don Warren as the mayor during your entire tenure.
Correct.
So do you have a good understanding of the time constraints
absolutely.
Or requirements that will be of you if you're elected mayor?
Absolutely. It's essentially a full-time job without it being a full-time job.
Right. I mean, in that people will call on you at all times of the day.
Absolutely.
But you're comfortable that, with your law practice and being an owner, you have flexibility to carry out the job in a way that, you're not going to be overwhelmed.
Correct. Correct. If I felt like it was going to be overwhelming, or if it felt like I didn't have the appropriate time to devote to it, I wouldn't be doing this, because then I'd be doing a disservice, not just to myself, but also to the city. And so I feel like absolutely have appropriate amount of time and resources and ability to do this.
I mean, you still have to make a living. I mean, I don't want that point to get lost, is that, you're doing this for free, as all the council people are. And so they still have to carry out a job and make a living for their family.
Correct.
And right. I mean,
oh yeah. Sarah says I still have to work,
right.
But that's the great part about the profession that you and I are in.
Right. We have flexibility.
And then at the same time, I'm not getting work from the city. I'm not directing work, a certain way where it's going to benefit me or my family or my business, because I do something that isn't dependent on, city work or city contractors or procuring jobs from, from a certain segment.
You don't have any conflicts, is what you're saying.
Correct.
And you don't have even a concern of that, because
not one bit.
The lane that you're in the legal profession is no way intersects with the city.
Correct. There's nothing that I do that I would say, well, this contract needs to be funneled through my office so that we can review it, or that we can, handle it in a certain way where that it would then benefit me financially, while at the same time, doing something for the city. And so there's no ability for me to have any appearance of any conflict of interest just because we do something completely different.
Because this is unfiltered. We have had a history, though, of real estate developers being council and mayor. So that is not a new issue, is it?
Well, in fact, my opponent is one of those.
Well, and if you go back to Eltife, Martin Hines, there's a lot of guys who have, and John Nix, right?
Yep.
John Nix is a developer.
Correct.
Which means that there may or may not be questions about projects that have to go through the city.
Correct.
And that's just, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's one of those things that is.
Like you said, it's may or may not, but at least for me, it will never be a may or may not, because that issue will never come up.
Okay. And what you'd say about that is, hey, I'm not benefiting if I become the mayor.
Correct.
In any way, shape, or form in my profession.
Correct.
All right. I know you've had some community involvement. You're on the board of Alzheimer's Alliance.
Yes.
Are you on any other boards at the present time?
Yeah. So I also serve on the strategic planning committee for Marvin Methodist Church.
Okay.
I'm also on the strategic advisory council for Love Thy City with DeMarcus Pearson.
Right. That's a citywide.
Correct.
Give back during the summertime. I'm constantly a sponsor.
Yes, you are.
I
Thank you for your sponsorship.
Well, it's funny how people have come up to me, and I didn't know. How would they know?
Probably hearing it on. How would they know that
I
you
was
were
a sponsor? Yeah.
Probably hearing it on the radio when he's doing his, pitch for these events.
Backpacks,
and
school supplies
see
for
your
the
name
kids.
out there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a good cause, and I
absolutely
encourage people to support it, because.
And this year, there's going to be more than just school supplies and backpacks. There, obviously, you have the spiritual component where people can, have that need addressed, and then there's the physical component. So backpacks, shoes, toys for kids. But then there's also a mental aspect where people will be able to get counseling and those types of services as well.
I mean, I never understood if this was a city project or a private 501 that was in partnership with the city. What is Love Thy City, and how does this work?
It's a private.
Okay. It is a nonprofit.
Correct. And DeMarcus Pearson is the head of that. And it's exactly what the name is, Love Thy City. We are here to love our city and our community members that are in the city. And this is a way of providing resources and tools and services to people that may not be able to find it or have access to it or afford it. And it's truly a demonstration of how we love our neighbors.
The city's not involved
So it is held at
Brookshire?
WT Brookshire Conference Center. There is a nonprofit rate that people are able to rent out the city facilities.
Okay. Yeah.
And then as far as a contribution from the city, I don't know if the city makes a contribution financially or not.
I've gotten the impression from the podcast I did with Don Warren that the city had kind of moved out of the business of donating to nonprofits.
Correct.
I mean, I remember him saying something along those lines.
Correct. It got to a point where there were a lot of different organizations asking, and then it got to the point where, well, how are you saying yes to this group, but not to this group? So there was a lot of that, yes.
Right. I mean, and I can see if anybody has ever been around nonprofits or politics, you can see how messy that could get about trying to say yes or no to somebody.
Correct.
And unfortunately, sometimes the easiest thing to do is just to say no to everybody.
Correct.
But the 501s here in Tyler, they step up pretty hard.
Absolutely.
When it comes to, the needs of the people that need it the most.
I think we are one of the most giving and caring communities. For sure, one of the biggest ones that I've had the opportunity of living in. I've lived a lot of places, Waco, Dallas, Oklahoma City, Austin, and Tyler, I think, picks up that area really well, where it goes back to what I said earlier, three-legged stool. If we did not have the nonprofit sector that we do, there is a lot that we would not be able to do.
Yeah, and there's a lot that gets done. I mean, I like to always highlight what PATH does only because of the sheer volume of people that travel through there every single week and get food, which, is, that's the basic necessity.
Correct.
Right. And,
correct.
Other nonprofits fill in and do other different things that make the people and the city better. But there's a lot of need, and it seems to be growing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. At some point, you're practicing law, you're going along, and how is it the decision to run for city council comes about?
Sure. So it's kind of a two-part decision. When I was in high school, at the time it was Mayor Eltife, came and spoke to us. And I remember just feeling very convicted of, God, look at the good work he's doing for our city, what he's able to give back to doing. And it's like, I could see myself doing that one day. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I was so focused on sciences and going to med school, and that's what I wanted to do, that completely forgot about it, filed it away in the back of my mind, and that was it. But then doing the 180 at Baylor and really getting involved in political science and getting volunteer work on different campaigns in Waco and going that route spurred my interest back of, okay, I may want to do this one day. And then when I moved back to Tyler in 2009, I knew I wanted to get involved and give my time back to the city, for a city that has given so much to me. And so I dove headfirst into volunteering where I could, and I got plugged into serving on the Parks and Rec Committee and did that for a couple years. And then that kind of moved into serving on the Civil Service Commission. And I did that for several years prior to running for council.
I mean, does it seem like, some people may think it's a bad thing, but it seems to be a good thing that the planning and zoning board, the civil service, these things kind of prepare what seems to be future council people, right? They start there, and then eventually they're either recruited or supported to run for a district, whether it be 1 through 6.
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of people get their kind of kickstart or jumpstart from planning and zoning. I did not go that route. I'm one of the few that did not go that route. But that is kind of what people view as like a natural progression. If this is something you do want to do, maybe you want to serve on planning and zoning. The route that I took was a little different. Coming from the Civil Service Commission, that was a three-person board, whereas some of the other ones are a lot bigger. So it was one of those where you you couldn't hide. You had to make decisions.
Well, you made a decision to run for District 1. Did you have an opponent that year?
I did. My very first race, I did. It was Greg Grubb, who at that time, I believe, had just retired from being the executive director at PATH.
Okay, so, you had a formidable, opponent, right? I mean,
correct.
somebody who people could,
People knew and recognized in the community.
and felt like he had, served the city, done a good job, because PATH, again, is one of the more recognizable
Correct.
volume helping organizations.
Correct.
So when Grubb enters the race, are you a little concerned?
It was one of those things where, and that was in 2021. I don't remember who announced first or not.
Yeah, I just was,
But
whenever
right.
you realized I'm going against this Mr. Grubb.
We had a plan, and we had a good plan, and we knew what our focus was, and thankfully, our plan worked, and we ran a really good campaign and a good race then, and ended up getting, I believe it was 80 or just over 80% of the vote in that race.
Okay, so that's that's a big win for Tyler amongst people in District 1, was that South Tyler?
So it is considered, the South Central District, and the easiest way to describe it is you have the intersection of Old Jacksonville Highway and Broadway right there at Burkefield Shopping Center. So you take that intersection of Old Jacksonville and Broadway and just go south with it. And it's almost everything in between Old Jacksonville Highway, so on the east side, and then Broadway, everything on the west side. There's an area right there where Walmart and Target and that shopping center is on Broadway. That is not in my district, even though it's on the west side of Broadway. But everything else pretty much is in District 1.
Well, that first win, 80%, do you attribute that to, Holly Tree, South Tyler, grassroots? I mean, where does that big margin of victory come from?
Hard work.
All right. I mean, what you just think you outworked him, which in politics, local politics, I don't know what that means other than maybe signs, phone calls, knocking on doors.
Absolutely.
Grassroots,
there's
essentially.
I guess that's what it is called, that grassroots effort of getting the vote out. And I believe that's what we did. We were able to turn out voters, because if you look at the other races that were going on for city at the same time, granted the other two related to incumbents, and so a little different, but the turnout in those races completely different than the turnout in my race in 2021. There was 1,000 people, which is still on the low, side of things that you want, but it was actually one of the highest, turnouts for a race like that in an off year.
But back then in that race, did Grassroots America, because I know they existed, did they support you or McGrubb in that election?
That was the one time they have supported me.
Okay. So they supported you that first time. And then when you were up for re-election,
in 2023,
yeah,
I was unopposed.
Okay, so you didn't really need an endorsement, I guess. If you're unopposed, you're going to win. You're going to win, right? Yeah.
You hope so.
Yeah, right. And then another one, 2025.
Correct. I had an opponent.
Okay, and who was that opponent?
His name was Max Stewart.
Okay, I don't recall that, and you obviously won.
Correct.
And you're term limited.
Correct.
And so it's either the mayor or bust.
Well,
right?
technically I have one more year on my council term.
Right. 2027?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But as far as the council work, they're terming you out.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
All right. So there's nowhere to go but mayor.
Well, sure.
right now.
Yeah, that's how you want to look at it.
All right. Before we get into some of the things, that's going to inform some of the questions that I ask and the answers you probably give is, you mentioned it. Infrastructure, obviously, is a big issue in this campaign, right?
Sure.
And part of that, it seems to stem from a 2017 consent decree that the city was placed under by the EPA.
Correct.
Right? I mean, that's where we see a lot of construction in areas other than downtown, right?
And right now, some of that consent decree work is downtown. It just happens to be downtown also right now.
Not on the square, though.
Just off of the square.
Right, off on Elm.
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah,
and the park over there by Caldwell.
right. So you come in. Let's think about Stuart Hene.
Mm-hmm.
He comes in. He's first elected District 1. It's 2019.
2021.
Excuse me, 2021. You're
Mhm.
right. Okay, so we're 4 years from the consent decree. When you come on council, what is told to you? What is your understanding of, hey, what work do we have to do in the next, or actually less than 10 years at this point?
A lot of work. The way I looked at it was we had, I say we, prior councils, we as a city had kicked the can down the road where it got to a point where the federal government came in and said, you have to do this, and I'll give you two options. You do it, and then you pay for it, or we will come in and do it, and you still have to pay for it. And so obviously it's better if we do it, because then we can hire the contractors that we want to hire, work with people that we know who we can work with. But yes, you still got to figure out a way to pay for it. But there was so much inaction. My opponent had served on council for, I think it was 3 years prior to the consent decree work, and had an opportunity to address some of these issues and some of these concerns at that time. But then it got to a point where federal government came in and said, sorry, you're going to have to fix your sewer system now. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
I don't know what the pre-meetings from the EPA were, and whether those, and they likely began before 2017.
Absolutely.
Before the consent decree was entered, right?
Absolutely.
So, if we're talking about former Councilman Nix, I think he got on in 2013. He got off in 19. So, yeah, the legal consent decree is right kind of in the middle or towards the end of his tenure.
Correct.
But the history of my research indicates this had been going on for quite a while, right? I mean, this is back to 2005 and sometime in those areas where there were overflows of the sewage and, people reported it. The EPA came in and it kind of all started.
Even more of a reason where decisions should have been made to address some of these issues sooner.
Yeah. I mean, if you're thinking about it and, you say, okay, do we know the legal consent decree is coming? Like, do we have an idea that they're about to slap us because we're in negotiations with them? So we know in 17 it's coming, and we know before 2017
that there are issues
that we are going to have to repair an awful lot of sewer pipe.
Yep.
And
all of it.
And so then the next question, yeah, all of it. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about all of it. I mean, surely there's some new construction, that was done in the 90s, 2000 that wouldn't have to be redone, I would think.
Maybe. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
But there was the vast majority of our infrastructure, sewer pipes,
correct,
were going to have to be replaced.
Correct.
And then there was work that had to be done before that could be started, like running cameras to see whether they were collapsed, see whether they were packed up with grease or whatever.
Sure. And manhole covers that had failed. Yeah, a lot of different issues, a lot of different inspections that took place where they can then divide it up into different zones and sections. Okay, we're going to do, this work first, and then we're going to move down to this area. So a lot of different options, I guess you could call it.
Now, the planning and thinking back then as to, they knew they were going to have to pay for it, right? Like you said,
mm-hmm.
You can do it and you can pay for it, or we can do it and you can pay for it, right?
Right.
So, I mean, we knew we were going to have to pay for it.
Correct.
And so the question is, when did the discussions begin about, hey, how are we going to pay for this? Because it seems to have started off at $75 million, and there are some reports that it's much larger than that.
It is. It's going to be closer to $300 million at the end of the day. And so when you look at your what's now called your utility bill, you see those fees on there.
That'd be the water bill.
That will be the former water bill. Yes, it's now called the utility bill.
All right. That shows you who pays the bills in my house. My wife.
Your wife.
Yeah, because I haven't seen that.
Yeah, so it's now called a utility bill on the top instead of your water bill.
All right.
Because there's different things on there, not just your water charge. And one of those being the consent decree project has a fee on there that we were having to pay because it's going towards the bonds that the water department took out to pay for the consent decree project.
Okay, so and I think that's probably it says compliance fee, and I think that compliance relates to the legal consent decree.
Correct.
All right, but I guess the first time that anybody started paying for this would be the first time that the compliance fee found itself to the water bill?
I don't know the first year that it came on there.
I'm just curious, like, when did we start the work and have to start paying?
We're in year 9 of this consent decree, so we have one more year to finish it. So work started, actually digging and fixing 9 years ago. But like you mentioned, the planning process probably started before then. Yeah,
I'm sure it did. I just couldn't. It seems to me that there wasn't a lot of work done on the consent decree from 2017 until sometime in the early 2020s. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of action.
There's been, since I've been on council, there has been a lot of action
on the sewer front.
Absolutely.
And it felt like maybe, if you didn't know, you'd say, oh, there's a lot of action. But if you knew there was a 2027
deadline, you better get it done.
That might explain the reason for the increased activity, right?
Oh, and also it's, where is the work taking place?
You might not see it out somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that could be part of it as well, of where was the work taking place in a specific year to have people be aware of it. Like right now, it is in downtown, so it's very visible. And so a lot more people know what's going on with the consent decree work right now.
And and we'll talk about this different because I want to keep it separate from the water and the sewer. But the downtown project obviously has amplified everybody's awareness of city construction.
Correct.
Right? I mean, that's, the businesses, there's been a lot of, cries of pain, if you will.
Sure.
But I think people have to realize that's true with any progress.
Absolutely.
That it doesn't come just
overnight.
No consequences to anybody.
Correct.
All right. So,
and I don't know if you want to get into detail of that now, but my office is downtown. And so I see it on a daily basis. And I live it with those people that are the downtown stakeholders, are the downtown businesses. I'm right there with them.
You're right there with Steve Barnhart.
That's right.
Yeah. And I'm sure that Chef Lance would say, well, we don't have a back parking lot to come out of.
No, that's right. He doesn't.
He's been very vocal.
He has, yeah. But he's advocating for his business. Right. He's advocating for his interests, and
nobody wants to go out of business.
No, absolutely not. So there's nothing wrong with him advocating for his business, and us as city officials and council members. We should be listening to people's concerns when they are telling us their concerns, whether it's on downtown or anything else.
Well, right now, he has probably the best reason to be frustrated because the work hadn't got to the Don Juan side.
Not yet.
And so, I mean, I can understand that. He has a nice restaurant with a loyal following.
He does.
Thankfully, they seem to be continuing to support him in pretty large numbers.
I think there's a lot of support downtown. That's one of the things I'm able to do personally and vocally. But I try to eat downtown during the week as much as possible to help those downtown stakeholders. If I am providing, silent auction items at some of these nonprofit events, I make sure it's a gift card from a restaurant downtown. And then at the same time, I'm encouraging people. If you need, a date night, or if you, need to go eat with your family, go downtown. If you want to go get ice cream, with your family, you don't have to go to the Andes South Broadway. You could go to the Andes downtown. And so I'm doing as much encouraging of people getting out to vote. I mean, going out to eat downtown as possible, so we can support those downtown stakeholders during this construction process.
When we go back to the sewer project and we're coming up on a deadline. I mean, do you have a sense as to whether or not the city will meet its deadline in 2027?
Oh, we better. Yeah, we will.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure you have information that I don't have and other people don't have about the
Sure.
progress.
We get updates at council
Right.
based on different segments of the work that is taking place, and the consultant comes in and says, "Okay, we're 80%, complete with this section, 90% complete with this section." And each time my follow-up question is, are we going to meet our deadline? Are we going to be able to complete this in time? And the answers that we are getting are yes.
Okay, so if we meet our deadline, it's great. If we don't, is there a fine, some extension, or something that we're going to have to deal with as well?
I more than likely a fine. Whether the EPA allows extensions, maybe. I don't know the answer to that, but fining if you're not complete, yes.
Okay.
And if you don't do it up to their standards, yes.
All right. So, I mean, there is really, we have a real incentive to finish this.
Absolutely. Saves taxpayers money.
As far as the water bill, it seems like the water bonds have been the only way that all of this has been funded, if I'm correct.
Correct.
I don't know.
It's not from the half-cent sales tax fund.
Right. That's kind of the issue, I guess, if we're trying to understand city finances, like what sources do a city have to do projects, right?
Sure. So our funding comes from really two sources: the property tax revenue and our sales tax revenue.
You're talking about the city's revenue.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Those are our main two sources of funding. That's roughly 2/3 of our revenue are from both of those. Then the other 1/3 is made up of fines and fees, franchise fees, different things like that, from the municipal government, if there's, fines levied there, franchise fees for cable internet providers, things of that nature. And so that makes up the remaining 1/3, which is really not a lot. And so the bulk is our property tax revenue and our sales tax revenue. And our property tax revenue, we are really capped at what we, can do. We can't increase it without going out to the voters for approval to increase it. There's a voter approved rate that we can take it to, and then anything above that has to go out to a vote. So our property tax rate and revenue is
fixed.
Is not really fixed, but ballparking wise, where it's going to be. It's you get your appraised rates from the Smith County Appraisal District, and you can apply that and say, okay, here's where our city property tax rate is going to be, knowing what the voter approved rate is, and you get that amount, and so you kind of pinpoint it. Right now, for the 2025-2026 budget, it was roughly $32 million, plus or minus a little bit, for the property tax revenue. And if you look at it by departments, you think, oh, that's a lot of property tax revenue. But at the end of the day, it's not. Our police department alone, their budget, $39 million. So our property tax revenue doesn't even pay
for the police department. Yeah, I mean, people have suggested that Tyler's tax rate was always low.
Correct.
Relative to other cities.
So we have the lowest city property tax rate in the state of Texas for any city that has 10,000 or more people. All
right. So we have limited resources compared to other cities of comparable size.
Correct. Even smaller. Which is why I'm a big proponent of, if we are wanting to fund more projects, do more things, so you're not raising property taxes on people. So you're not, adding a lot of extra fines or fees everywhere. Where does that come from? My philosophy is increasing our sales tax base. How can we increase our sales tax base? And to do that, we got to have, things for people to do here, where people, not just in Tyler, but people from out of Tyler are coming here to shop, to eat, to stay, because that's how we are increasing our sales tax revenue at that point. And if you increase the sales tax revenue, you're spreading out that pie amongst more people where the burden isn't so much on those property tax owners.
Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword, I guess.
It is.
Because, with that comes a lot of traffic.
Yep.
And a lot of wear and tear on infrastructure,
Sure.
roads, right? So, I mean, it's, but with regard to the utility department, was there a decision made to take out bonds and to put all of the expense of this legal consent decree in the water department as opposed to using funds from half cents or something else?
So the funds aren't there from anywhere else. And if you wanted to have different sources of revenue to fund it, like if you wanted a general obligation debt, you had to go out to the voters.
Right. I mean, I was about to say, the city could seek a general obligation bond.
Yeah.
And for people listening that say, that should have been done as opposed to it be all in the water department, they need to understand probably that in reality that bond would have to pass.
Correct. So what happens if it doesn't pass? How are you going to fund it?
Right. I mean,
and thankfully Tyler has no general obligation debt. We have no general obligation bonds.
Right. That was kind of the impetus behind the half-cent sales tax.
Correct.
When Kevin Eltife lobbied for it, and he did meet resistance from grassroots, I recall, when he pursued that half-cent sales tax increase.
Maybe he did. I don't know.
Well, I was there, and I remember, and but I don't know how the city would function today
without it.
I mean, if people are honest instead of issue driven or just here to criticize and not to solve problems.
Correct.
I mean, one has to ask himself, if we don't have the half-cent sales tax, I mean, what do the city services look like right now?
Nothing. Bare minimum, yeah. If we didn't have that, there's a lot of stuff we could not do. We couldn't do capital improvements at our water treatment facility plants, at our wastewater treatment plants, at parks.
The parks are done. Right.
So there's a couple left.
Okay.
There's a master plan for the parks. And the next step, once we get finished working on the parks that we are working on, is like Golden Road Park would be at the end of the year.
Well, people are going to be glad to hear that.
I know, right?
I tell you what, whoever's in that district has been worn out about that Golden Road Park.
Correct.
If I had to guess.
Correct.
Because I mean, my boys, we played over there.
Yeah.
And that's the only one most run down.
Yeah.
Right.
So that the goal is to address those issues at the end of this year. That's kind of the next step in that park master plan, where we will redo bleachers, redo seating, add shading options, redo the restrooms, and redo some fencing for phase one of that project.
And I mean, shout out to Don Warren, because truly, none of these parks, this probably would not have been a priority for anyone else. Correct. Other than Don.
Don has been great at spearheading the focus and the time and attention into these issues because quality of life is so important. Yes, it's important to Don. Obviously, you can see that in his track record as mayor. But when you look at surveys from people that live in Tyler, when you look at surveys from people that are moving to Tyler, and when you look at surveys for businesses that are thinking about relocating their business or opening up a new office or a new plant for their business, quality of life consistently ranks at one of the top two issues that people look at when deciding where to go. And these employers say, well, that's great. I can move my business to XYZ city. What's there to do for my employees? Are they going to like living in this city?
What are the schools like?
Correct. And so quality of life is huge.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, some things, government can't just be what is the perfect business decision without any contemplation of the human effect.
Correct.
Right? I mean, some contemplation has to be.
Correct.
People that are less fortunate need to be alternatives that are free or very cheap for people to have, experiences that affect their quality of life.
Yeah, our park system is great here with all the the park options that we have, and being able to redo parks all across town benefits everybody.
All right, so we're going to get those done, and that'll kind of be, if people are, if they're more open-minded or broad thinking, if we just stayed on the course of straight business decisions, and then we looked up 20 years from now, we might have rundown parks. We might, there might be a lot of things about the quality of life here that have gone dramatically down.
Could be, yeah, absolutely.
We're kind of getting the parks behind us, which kind of leads us to the downtown project, right? Because
I think that's one of the biggest factors that differentiate me and my opponent. He is against the downtown revitalization project, and I'm a huge proponent of our downtown revitalization project.
I mean, to his defense, he says, yes, we have to finish it.
Well,
that's what
he may say that, but if you actually look at his voting record, he voted no on it twice.
He was on planning and zoning.
He was on half-cent sales tax.
Okay. Also, there was some type of vote where the issue first arose that said, hey, we're talking revitalization. New courthouse is coming, right?
Correct.
The new courthouse was already coming.
Correct. That's a county, just to make it clear between city and county project. That's a county project.
Because it's a county courthouse.
Correct.
On the county square.
Correct.
Which is why the collaboration between the city and the county was so important when it has to do with downtown.
Absolutely.
Because if they were fighting and wouldn't agree on anything.
Absolutely. We couldn't be doing the work that we are doing on the other side of the square.
Now, former Councilman Nix complains about the split, that the county got 60% of the revenue related to that and the city only got 40%. He brought this up to me when I talked to him. It was something about the ratio that the city had agreed to. Do you know what I'm talking about?
What split on what though? For what revenue?
I don't know if he was talking about like a red dirt festival or some type of thing where they rented and had it downtown and it made some money.
I have no idea what he's talking about.
Okay. Well, I didn't know anything about it to ask him anything other than that's what he said.
I do know red dirt this past weekend was not downtown, so I don't know if that's what he was talking about, because that was at the East Texas State Fairgrounds.
Yeah, but
so I don't know what he's
talking about. I don't think he meant this year, because obviously it'd be tough to be down there because you're literally in red dirt.
Yes, you are.
One of his criticisms I recall was, the size of the street lanes in front of the, is Broadway narrowed?
Yeah. So
he said, hey, it's supposed to be for fire trucks and this and that, and 4 lanes to 2 lanes is a bad idea. And, I don't know what the design was or is, but I mean, if you have any comments on it, feel free.
Absolutely. So it's specifically designed to go from 4 lanes to 2 lanes right there by the square, and a little bit north of it and a little bit south of it, because we actually took time to interview and ask all the downtown stakeholders, what do you want? This is your area. We want you involved in the decision-making. And then we brought in outside consultants. What are your recommendations? What are you seeing in other downtowns that are doing similar type projects and have done similar type projects? And unanimously, it was, we want fewer lanes coming through downtown, because the goal is twofold. Have more people stop, and so make it a destination where you're coming to downtown and you're staying there to eat or you're staying there to shop. You're not passing through. And then with that is a safety aspect. You're slowing traffic down because you want it to be more pedestrian friendly. You want it to be have more walkability. And to do that, you got to slow the traffic down through downtown. And so we brought in engineers and consultants and professionals to look at this. And unanimously, they said, yes, 4 lanes down to 2 lanes. And so he could get up on his soapbox and say, well, it shouldn't be 2 lanes. But he wasn't part of that process of looking at the details and hearing the downtown stakeholders say, we want slower traffic. We want it more pedestrian friendly. We want people to treat this as a destination where they're coming here to eat and to shop and to stay.
Well, ultimately, someone has to make a decision, right? I mean, people can be against things or for things, but I mean, the city decided how they were going to do it.
Correct.
And that's how it's going to get done.
Correct.
And, I think everybody is excited because everybody knows it's going to be nice.
Absolutely.
When it's finished, right?
Absolutely.
It'll kind of reflect, the majesty of this city with its downtown, which has never reflected what Tyler really was, right? I mean, it's like you were like, what is this? So
I classify it. I tell people having a sense of pride in your city is a great thing. And that downtown component, that downtown aspect is really the heartbeat of our city. And when you have pride in the heartbeat and your heartbeat is thriving, it reverberates out from there and helps all other aspects of the city, all other corners of the city. And it's great to see the work that we are doing where we are taking pride in revitalizing our core and our heartbeat of our city.
I don't know this, but I would think that, a revitalized downtown would be more likely to attract a luxury hotel such as the Valencia Group versus a dilapidated, not refurbished downtown, right?
100% correct. When they were looking at Tyler and downtown, that was absolutely a factor. What are y'all doing? Where's downtown going? Because if not, then why would they want to be downtown? Why would they want to be a part of that process if it was going to continue to be neglected and ignored? Nobody would want to be there.
Well, and so, you probably know more about the progress of that project. I mean, can we say unequivocally they are coming? This is moving forward.
100%. Yeah, they expect to break ground, start construction in January of 2027. So just a couple of weeks ago, they had the ribbon cutting ceremony for that. They wanted to do that prior to breaking ground in honor of Mayor Warren because he was so instrumental
in getting
them to come to Tyler. It was essentially a cold call of him calling the ownership saying, here's what we're planning on doing with downtown. Here's where a need exists. Can you come, look at Tyler, Texas? Can you come consider Tyler for your next market? And when they came and met with him, obviously they fell in love with Tyler and you could kind of see, where that project is going now. And so for them recognizing how instrumental Mayor Warren was with this project, they wanted to do something special for him. And so they did the, ribbon cutting prior to him being termed out of office. And that was just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, Don told that story on the podcast. The other thing that I wonder about when we hear people explain his impact on the downtown project is, when you become mayor, you can set an agenda for your mayorship.
Correct.
And but you have to get people on board.
Correct.
Right. And because he wanted it. I mean, he did all these things to get them to come, and that culminated with what I don't think is controversial at all, but some people do, and that's a tax abatement.
Correct.
Right? I mean, people go, a tax abatement, but
I don't think it should be controversial either. The way I look at it is take a vacant piece of property, for example. You're getting, a de minimis property tax revenue from that piece of property. You're obviously getting no sales tax revenue because there's no business there.
Right.
And so, the little that you are getting now, why not make it that much more down the road? And so you're giving up a little bit to have an exponential amount later. I think it's a no-brainer.
I do too.
But you're right. There are some people that disagree with that.
Well, I mean, I've talked to Scott Martinez about this issue, and
he's fully on board.
He is. It is like when you give a 50% tax abatement for a hotel, you weren't going to have any of that revenue anyway.
For the next 10 years.
Right. And so you give up half of the project that would not have otherwise been there.
Correct.
And then after 10 years, you've got the full revenue.
Correct.
And I just don't understand where people could possibly be coming from to say,
we'd rather have it a vacant piece of property where we're getting, nothing.
And the other criticism, and I asked Councilman Nix about this, and, I was like, look, I don't think the city gave Bass Pro Shop any abatement.
They got some sales tax rebates.
Did they?
Yes.
It wasn't anything like the Valencia, though, was it?
No, because Valencia is getting also some of that alcohol tax and the hot tax fund. They're getting some rebates there as
There's so
well.
many taxes and funds, I can't keep up with
Correct,
them. I mean, John Nix says y'all were trying to feed people to death, like the fees that you talked about, 1/3 of the budget.
Right.
His thing seemed to be, if I recall, that the fees taken by the city should match the expenses. Okay. So it seemed to be an argument that the fees should not make a profit or be profitable. I mean, what do you say about that?
So I think where he is addressing the fees is on the utility bill, on the water bill itself. And what he wants to do has already been done. What he is talking about changing is our rate structure for the water rates, which we have already done.
Okay, so the water rate has been changed?
Correct.
When was it changed?
It started in 2022, and it's a 5-year process, and so we are finishing that now. But we used to be under what's called a declining rate structure.
Which he was very critical of that because
Absolutely.
He suggested this, and I had never heard this before, that you could actually use more water than your neighbors, but because of declining charges, your bill could be less. And people thought, well, how does that, support conservation or even fairness?
Well, your bill wouldn't be less, but that rate you're getting charged for the higher volumes.
A gallon of water.
Correct. That rate
less.
would be less. Obviously, since you're still using a lot of water, your bill would be more than your neighbor, but that rate would be less than what your neighbor's rate is for those extra gallons. And so we have now gone to a volumetric rate where everybody is paying the same rate no matter how many gallons you use. And so it promotes conservation.
Right.
Where obviously...
Where people does not feel like they can just waste water.
Correct. I'm not going to run my sprinkler system 24 hours a day.
7 days a week.
Correct. And so it promotes conservation. And then also somebody that, maybe on a fixed income or a lower income isn't disproportionately having to pay, a higher rate because they're using less water.
Right. I mean, that was always my concern when I began to understand the issue is that, fixed income people are retired people.
Correct.
Social Security checks, retirement, right? Also people that are of less means.
Correct.
And so the water bill, could really hurt people disproportionately, right?
Yeah.
Like it might not faze me, but, an older lady, it might faze her. Are you saying that, as this 2022 rate change moves forward, that there'll be any relief as far as what person would pay? Is it help there?
So the relief there is in how the rate is structured and how it is billed. Yes. As far as, if your utility bill goes down or not, that's dependent on other charges. For example, like we talked about earlier, that consent decree fee is on there, and that is going to be on there. And depending on, the rates for the bonds and how that is paid, that fee, may or may not go up, but the water rate itself has been changed from a declining rate structure to now a volumetric rate where everybody is paying that same rate. And we're at the tail end of those changes. And so people, if they haven't already seen that change, should be seeing it now.
All right. Now, how many water bonds do we have to pay back? Do you know? Because is that the $300 million?
That's the $300 million.
Do you know what happened and why it was estimated to be $75 million and then end up be $300 million?
I do not, because that was 2017. I was not involved in that.
Right. But I mean, at some point you're on the council when everybody's saying, well, hey, it's not going to be 75 million. I mean, like somehow it's going to be 300 million.
Right.
Like, I mean, what's the discussion? I mean, where does that increase in cost from the original estimate? Where does that start baking in with people that we're going to have to do something to pay for it?
Well, what registers in my mind is we better pay attention to the other infrastructure issues now, because I don't want to see this issue come up where we are kicking the can down the road on our water infrastructure or our stormwater infrastructure, where this same thing happens again and the federal government steps in and says, You got to fix all your water infrastructure. And by the way, you're going to pay it. And by the way, here's the timeline you have to do it. And so we need to start addressing these issues now where we can control cost.
With half-cent sales tax for those?
Absolutely.
I mean, is there any work going on right now related to things other than sewer?
Absolutely.
That's infrastructure?
Yeah, so we have invested around $25 million the past couple of years down at the South Side wastewater treatment facility. We're doing a lot of work on the West Side wastewater treatment facility right now because those had been neglected for such a long time that there are a lot of things that we are needing to bring up to date. One of my big things is we need to have routine maintenance on a lot of, whether it's the wastewater treatment facilities or the water treatment facilities, because if you don't keep up with your equipment and your facilities, that's when catastrophic failures happen, and then you're footing a much larger bill that we may not be able to afford.
So people, when they hear water, wastewater thrown around, they might not quite understand, but like Golden Road is a drinking water.
That is a water treatment facility plant. Yeah. So we have 2 water treatment facility plants. Half of the city gets their water from Lake Tyler. That water goes to the Golden Road water treatment facility plant. The other half of the city gets their water from Lake Palestine, which goes to the Lake Palestine water treatment facility plant, which is just west of Fresh off of the Old Noonday Road back there.
Okay. Now, wastewater is sewer.
Correct. So anytime you turn on your faucet and you don't put that water in a cup and it goes down the drain, that's considered wastewater.
And, the campaign on Cumberland was Stop the Stink. You remember that?
I remember that because that's my district.
Right. I'm sure you probably heard a lot.
Absolutely.
I mean,
but that goes back to my point of when I look at a project, how does that project benefit the entirety of the city? Or does that one project only benefit a small section or a small neighborhood? And when I had a group of people saying, well, you need to come in and put a dome over this wastewater treatment facility plant, I'm like, well, are you going to pay for it? Because the city's not going to pay for it because it benefits a few streets, one little small area. I can't go to
You're saying the stink's not far and wide?
Correct.
It's not? So it's just kind of...
Yeah, so how do you justify that to the entirety of the city doing that project when it clearly benefits one little section of the city, a few neighborhoods, a few streets?
What about that wastewater treatment plant there right by Faulkner Park?
Right.
Is that going to stay there, or are there plans for that to be moved further outside the city limits or near?
That will stay there. That plant was built in 1953, and I believe the furthest thing south at that time was Bergfeld Shopping Center. I think that's about right, but it could be, off by a couple years. And so nothing was out there.
But you're making my point. That was true then.
Correct.
We are here now.
Correct.
So, I mean, you would think that wastewater treatment plant would have to move further to the edges of the...
You don't have to move it. It will still stay there, but we can have an additional one.
On that property?
So the city bought property out in Mixon.
Okay.
For a future additional wastewater treatment facility plant. We don't have to build there currently because, like I mentioned, we've invested around $25 million into that Southside wastewater treatment facility, where we have increased capacity, where we have updated a lot of things, where we are not at that 11th o'clock hour where you have to all of a sudden build a new plant to handle more capacity, to handle new needs. We have plenty of capacity and plenty of ability to utilize the plant that we have where it is and plan for the future at the same time with property that we have out in Mixon.
One of the things that former Councilman Nix brought up was that, when he was on the council, Martin Hines was the mayor.
Right.
And they were working together, he said, on easements right away to get to the new property, that would have to be contemplated and worked out over time, lest when the need arose, the prices of the landowners and all that might double the project. Do you agree with that concept?
I don't know how much right of way has already been purchased, but you're right. The longer you go down the road, the cost of things increase, whether it's inflation or cost of materials. Absolutely, things increase over time. So I'll agree with the concept that, costs increase over time, if that's the question.
Well, I think really more his criticism, if I kind of read between the lines what he was saying, was more along the lines that there was he and the mayor, Hines, were focused on that. And he said once we both termed off, nobody has really stayed with that issue, and there's no plans for right-of-way purchase or easements to the new property as it sits here today. That's kind of what I thought he was saying.
So I'm a firm believer in preparing for our future and planning for the future, because I think that's one of our main roles on council, is if we are not looking towards our future, then what are we doing? We have to be planning for future generations, and that's why I'm serving, because I want my kids and their kids and their kids' kids and your kids and their kids one day to have the best Tyler possible, and so we have to be planning for our future.
But I mean, the more people that come in here, right? I mean, there, like you said earlier, there's pressure on infrastructure, which are the roads.
Correct.
The school system.
Correct.
The hospitals.
Correct.
The water treatment, right? And
Correct.
Wastewater. I mean, all of that. So,
not just people moving here, but there's roughly 115,000 people that live in the city of Tyler. But on any given weekday, Monday through Friday, between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., our city swells to about 230,000 people.
Yeah, and I've even heard numbers larger than that.
I have too. I've heard up to 250,000.
And in Christmas time, sure feels like
300, 350.
I mean, it feels like a lot of people, right? But I think what Nick's was, I mean, I get it, political campaigns, people are trying to stake out their positions and say, look, this is how I'm different from him.
Sure.
And this is why I think this is better. That criticism, I just basically took as there was nobody thinking about the right of way. And so my question, to get to the new property, my question is, do you feel like we even need to be thinking about the right of way right now based on what you've said about our capacity with the other, treatment plants?
I think we have enough time frame for our existing treatment facility where in the immediate future, we will not have to use a plant out in Mixon. But at the same time, we can still plan accordingly, where if a opportunity does present itself where we can acquire some right of way, knowing 50 years down the road, we may need it, and it fits in with the budget, then yes, have a plan in place for that. But with the capacity increases that we have done, that is not needed in the next several decades.
Plus, it would seem we have a lot of projects on our plate at this very moment.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, between the legal consent decree that we're hustling to get to the 2027 deadline. We're trying to get the downtown stuff done.
Sure.
What can you tell people about like the time frame of the downtown construction? Because I don't think there's that much specific information out there.
So currently the work is taking place on College and Irwin.
So let's, for people who are like me, don't know the roads,
right?
We're calling that Culture, Ricks.
Yes. Yeah. So the road in front of the Plaza Tower.
Prime 102.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. In front of Andy's.
All the way to Broadway.
So Irwin, yes, in front of Ricks and in front of Culture is being worked on. When you get to that intersection at Broadway, that won't be open for a little bit, but the intersection of College and Irwin, so right where Texas Bank and Trust, People's Petroleum, and diagonal from that, Culture.
When that's finished?
End of this month.
Okay.
And so that intersection will be fully open where you can travel down College and go all the way past Culture. You can come up Irwin and go past Culture. The roads will become two-way, so no longer one-way. So you'll be able to come up and down College and up and down Irwin. And so at the end of the month, that intersection will be open.
All right. We've heard the courthouse is probably December 2026.
That's correct.
And that's because we were on budget, from what I gathered.
Correct.
And they added an additional floor that they would build out.
Yes.
at cost and prices of today as opposed to what they might be 5 years from now.
Correct.
Smart
planning.
Well, I mean, right. I mean, people can criticize decisions, but I think, you still have to take the facts.
Yes.
About, things are probably going to be more expensive.
Yes.
Should we delay this? Do it now, right? I mean, I think that's a reasonable plan. And so when that's finished, what is the downtown going to look like? How is the overall downtown project? Is it going to be completed along with the courthouse, or is it going to continue to go beyond that?
It will continue to go beyond that. And so what I want viewers and listeners to understand when they hear the downtown square project, it's not just the park. The park is a small portion of it, just under $5 million. You're
talking about the green space?
Correct. The majority of the downtown project is infrastructure. All of the wastewater and the water and the underground infrastructure systems downtown, they're 100 years old. And so we are completely redoing all of that, which is where the time comes in and where the costs come in for the entire square.
John Nix, he commented on that and said, that maybe there was the underground work maybe went further than he felt like it should go. He said, well, they call it a legacy project if it's built to last 80 or 90 years, but if it's 30 to 50, it's called something else. And, I didn't know what that meant, but that's what he said.
So he's saying that it's over-engineered, and the answer to that is I would rather have it engineered correctly the first time, so we're not having to go back and redo it and fix things that should have been done correctly the first time. Because if you don't engineer a project correctly, you get into a Cambridge Bend road situation where a $6 million project turns into an $11 or $12 million project because it wasn't done correctly the first time, and then also takes longer.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I wondered what was happening over there.
Yeah, so why not do it correctly the first time where you don't have problems down the road?
I mean, I know it's easy for people to criticize and be penny pinchers when they don't have to be responsible for the consequences.
Correct.
Right? I mean, and I've always heard, and it seems to be borne out in my life, you get what you pay for. And I know that's a cliche, but I mean,
it's true.
And so, someone could criticize you and say, hey, the only people getting money around here are the architects and the contractors, right? And but when it's done,
it's going to be amazing.
It'll be a place where a lot of people can go and enjoy.
Absolutely.
I just think people, be happy for when it gets here. So when is the downtown thing completely finished?
Completely finished.
I'm driving down there to walk around the green area.
Every single road, 2028.
All right, 2028. Okay. Valencia Hotel, it's going to be being constructed kind of parallel.
Absolutely.
January 2027 into 2028?
Correct. So I think their timeline is 18 months for their project, give or take.
Half a year into 2028.
Correct.
If everything goes right.
Absolutely. Obviously, you have weather and other issues. And that's part of the problem that we've run into with some of this infrastructure on College and Irwin. We get in there and we realize since the infrastructure is 100 years old, it's not in places where it should have been. It's moved or deteriorated so much that it's causing other issues. And so you're right. Construction, always takes longer than what people estimate.
It seems that way, except for when I built my building right now. Shout out to Eric Williams, the construction management company, because I've never been involved in a project that has gone so fast and so smooth. So I don't know, but most everything else I've ever done, it's slow, delays.
Yeah.
A
fun fact about your building also that I don't think viewers and listeners know. I know my very first legal job right here in this building.
I remember it. Yes, you worked here for a short period of time until you learned that insurance defense was not your cup of tea.
Correct.
And it's not most people's cup of tea. I don't think people are beating down the door, to represent insurance companies. It's work, but it's, okay. So 2028 could be a good year for downtown Tyler.
Absolutely.
I mean, the whole thing kind of it clears out, levels out, it's done.
Yep.
Now, do we anticipate the sewer project going above 300? I mean, mightn't we take out more bonds, or do we know that we've got the money we need?
I believe we have the money we need because we're right there at 90% on a lot of projects, 80% on a lot of projects, and so we have that number baked in where we have to authorize those expenses for the the next legs of the projects, but I believe those costs are factored in already.
But the bonds that we have, are these fixed rate bonds, or are these adjustable rates? I mean, what are we looking at? Like you said, going in the future?
The rates have been set. We have a great credit rating for a city. We're at the very top of municipalities,
which means we can borrow money cheaper than other cities.
Absolutely, and so people want to do work with us. There were a lot of proposals presented from different agencies to get our business. And obviously we have an expert and a consultant that handles that for us.
Right.
And so we were very fortunate to, have a favorable rate and payment structure where it benefits taxpayers.
The reason I ask about the rate is because I know if the rate went up, that what we owed would be more.
Correct.
And what the compliance fee would be higher.
Correct.
And are we in that situation where that might occur to us?
I don't think so. I'd have to go back
know.
and look, and I don't know yes or no on that, what the rate's going to look like in 30 years, 50 years. Because
I don't even know the duration of the bonds that we took out. Are you familiar with, the water bonds taken out by the utility department, like how long the bonds were?
That's, I believe some were 30 and some were 50. I'd have to go back and look. I don't have that information with me today.
But they are long-term bonds?
Yes.
And and I have no idea what the payments are, but we're going to be paying for the sewer stuff for a long time.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, and if it's a 50-year bond, by the time you got it paid, if you didn't do the legacy deeper underground project, you might find yourself starting the project all over again.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So it's not as simple. And, I try to be fair to you and to Nix, who, he brings information and experience that I don't have. He served on the council.
Sure.
He's got his opinions about stuff. At the end of the day, we're really trying to just take in information and see, that, look, I mean, the city's making pretty good decisions.
I think so.
Can you find something to criticize? I'm sure you can. I mean, right? Isn't that true with anything? So
absolutely.
But the water bill thing, I think that just, because that got everybody's attention, right?
Sure.
I mean, every little person that, pays a bill, that brought the sewer project into their living room.
Sure.
So, I often wondered, and I don't know if this is even we talked about this, we probably could never get a general obligation bond passed in order to give any relief on that, right? I mean, that's...
I don't think we could either, yeah.
The city's strong and needs to remain so, because what I do understand is that these bond companies, what they do is they take rights in the departments of the bonds that they issue, like the water department, right? I mean, like, if we didn't pay, they technically could take over and charge whatever they wanted in order to pay themselves.
Like a lien on an asset type deal.
Yeah, like just general bondholders, just like municipal bonds. This is nothing specific to Tyler.
Correct.
It's not like Tyler did something, and that's not what I'm suggesting, that they did something out of the ordinary.
Correct.
I mean, if you purchased yourself, I own municipal bonds, for instance. Which
it's an investment tool.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are rights associated with the repayment, which include public utilities.
Correct.
So we definitely want to figure out ways to make sure we pay for our bonds.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, that's
absolutely.
All right. As far as the half-cent sales tax, your campaign has talked about, trying to ease traffic with new roads, and you've mentioned things like that.
Yeah.
Is that where the money would come from to pay for those projects?
Yes, it would. Yes.
I mean, so when people are thinking like, hey, if we need a new road, we've got to get it out of half cents.
Correct.
Versus property tax versus fees.
Well,
Or,
it would be the other option would be, going out for your general obligation bonds.
but that would generally be a big project, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Or a whole package of projects.
So we try to run a surplus from our budget to the revenues from the three sources we just talked about.
Right.
And that way we can build projects.
That way we can fund certain projects from the half-cent sales tax fund itself.
So if people think about it, like if somehow we were really good at attracting new businesses here,
Yeah.
the component that we would get, no matter what, would likely be the sales tax revenue.
Which is why it goes back to the point I made at the very beginning. We need to increase our sales tax base so we can increase our sales tax revenue.
Because that's just one of three things that raise money for the city of Tyler to fix things, to pay bills, and to, build new infrastructure.
Correct. It's one of three, but it's a big one of the three. That it's 66%, 65% property tax and sales tax. And so that sales tax revenue is a huge piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. The tax rate. I guess the only way in the future for the city to charge more in property taxes would be to could they raise the rate on their own, or would they have to go through an election to raise the tax rate for property taxes?
You would have to go out to there's a voter approved rate. And so anything above that voter approved rate would have to go out for a vote.
Okay. So, for people that are, worried, like, there's a lot of new people moving here.
Sure.
They're thinking like, hey, this is, I see a lot of license plates from out of state.
Yeah.
The city couldn't just change in character and raise property taxes on people.
No, and not without it going out to a vote from the voters. You're exactly right. So what we do have is the no new revenue rate, which means if you were to collect the exact same revenue as the year before, you have that rate, but then you have the voter approved rate, which is a whole mathematical formula.
If that's less than that, you can actually charge more closer to the rate because it's been voter approved.
So the rate itself would go down a little bit, but your revenue that you're collecting goes up because your appraised values have gone up. And so that goes back to what I was saying. You get your appraised numbers from the Smith County Appraisal District, and then knowing that, okay, well, our rate is going to be, a little lower than what the 2025, 2026 rate is because your appraised value has gone up.
Smith County Appraisal District, what entity is that?
Smith County Appraisal District. Has nothing to do with the city.
No, but is it, as the name suggests, it is a county affiliated?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the city.
Okay.
We can't go in there and say, you need to set appraised values at X. Or we hire the appraisal district staff. The city doesn't have any involvement in that.
Okay, so the county appraisal district, which people take issue with, they go down there and protest, they get mad, say they raise them too high. The county. So does the county appraise their own property from which they receive property taxes?
Like everybody else.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's property outside the city limits.
Oh, yeah. There's property outside the city limits.
And they have to pay property tax on...
Well, if it's a governmental-owned property, it's not on the tax rolls.
But like people that own, farmland...
You're talking about just a general public... Yes.
Houses that are... Neighborhoods that are in the county but not in the city limits.
Correct.
Those get appraised too.
Sure. Yeah, so there's the different property tax components that a resident pays. You have your City of Tyler property tax. You have your Tyler ISD property tax. You have your Smith County property tax. And then obviously TJC. And depending on where you live, you may have ESD2 or ESD1 tax. And then obviously if you live in Bullard, your Bullard tax, White House tax, Chapel Hill, etc. So the City of Tyler property tax is one component on that property tax bill. And so when people come into me and say, well, hey, my property tax bill is really high, why are you taxing me so much? I'm like, okay, well, let's sit down and look at your property tax bill, and I'll be glad to walk you through each area, because when you actually look at it, the City of Tyler property tax component is the smallest on there. And it goes back to what I said earlier. Our tax rate is the lowest for any city in the state of Texas with 10,000 or more people.
What about the budget for Smith County Appraisal District? Where is that budget? In the county?
I don't know where their budget is.
I mean, like,
I'm not familiar with.
How do they get funded? I always wondered, like, they're out there on the loop. They're
on the east side of town.
They're telling you your property's worth X, and it's gone up 50,000 in value last year, and you're like, well,
how'd you get that number? Yeah,
I mean, how'd you get that number? And who pays for that? I mean, that's what I'm saying. Is that a county like roads and bridges in the county? Is this like that?
I don't know how the county does that in their budget,
but it's in their budget.
What I do know is that there are people in the legislature in Austin looking at that process to see if they can refine it where you can't increase it over a certain percentage or over a certain amount. I don't know what formulas they're looking at,
right,
and how they are looking at that. But I do know that is now a hot button issue in Austin because appraised values are getting so high so quickly that it's now something that they're looking at in Austin of, is there something to do that we, can do?
My mind goes to this. Is all of this a function of, the baby boom generation has been very active in property tax, caps, protections, right? And if we get on their side and their issue, obviously a lot of them have disposable income of a certain amount, and they don't want that to eat away. But that, with the increasing needs of city governments, this is where these two are crashing at this point in time.
Yes. And that goes back to my point of just because we have 115,000 people that live in the city limits doesn't mean we can only have services that benefit 115,000 people. We have to have a fire department that's big enough, a police department that's big enough, infrastructure capacity that's big enough to handle everybody coming to Tyler to eat, shop, and stay or come in for work that live in the surrounding communities.
You might can help me on this. I think I'd talked to Martin before, and I'd say, why in the world do we build such nice firehouses? I mean, it seems like, but I think there's some insurance rate,
absolutely,
relative to the type and the number and the location of the firehouses.
Absolutely,
right?
So we have the highest rated fire department and police department. So we are CALEA certified for our police department, which across the nation is the highest type of rating.
Where is that a savings for the city if our police department is excellent or at the top of the heap?
It's in your service that you receive.
Other than, obviously good people with character that, don't cause you lawsuits for civil rights violations. And,
which then goes into your city insurance rates.
Right.
And on the fire department side, we are the type of ISO certification that we have.
International Standards Organization.
Yes, is the highest that we can get for a fire department, which means, like you said, we have a certain number of firehouses throughout the city where response times have to be a certain response time or less, which then cuts down on insurance rates as well.
Yeah, and those insurance rates likely benefit individual homeowners if the city has constructed itself in a way where those response times, because of the firehouse's locations, are within what they demand.
Correct. If somebody really wanted to sit down with their insurance agent and say, okay, here's a specific area where I think we could get some savings on, and then push back with the carrier of here's a possible rate savings. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Now, we touched upon it earlier, and I just want to get your opinion on this. Would you say you had a general opinion about tax abatements, good or bad, or, case specific, situation specific? How do you feel about those?
Sure. So I'm in favor of tax rebates. It's not necessarily called a tax abatement because it could also be a tax rebate. It just depends on how it's structured.
Right. I mean, some of them you don't pay half taxes for this many years. Some of them you get a rebate from the sales taxes that you owed.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. But absolutely, I believe that is a tool that we have in our tool belt that we can use to attract new businesses to town. But that doesn't mean we just use it as a blank check or we use it blatantly, for everybody. So it should also be a you look at the situation and is it applicable to this situation? But I'm not one that says, no, we never use it, or no, it's a bad idea to use it. I definitely think we should use it when appropriate.
Well, it's just like that Yellowwood.
Yellowwood, yeah.
Yellowwood didn't get a tax abatement out there, did they? They built a road, I think, but
the county did, yeah. So that wasn't city projects. That's county projects. I don't know what
Scott Martinez was on the show, said that other than the road, they didn't get something. So I think the suggestion is that the city officials were not just willy-nilly offering tax abatements to everybody. Hey, would you please come to Tyler? It wasn't like that.
Correct. No, it's not like that at all.
Why do we have any politicians elected if somebody doesn't have to make a hard decision?
Correct.
And Tyler might need or want something that's worth a competing city.
Absolutely.
That wants it. And so,
absolutely.
I totally understand the tax abatement issue. All right. Grassroots. Let's talk about them a minute, because everybody, people always talk about that every political cycle, if you've lived here in Tyler, right? It started early on in the 2000s or whenever they were formed. I'm not sure. I've never met Joanne Fleming, although she holds a lot of sway with the organization from what I can see watching the news. Like I said, I've never talked to her. I'd like her to come on the show.
You should have her on your show.
I've reached out to them on the website, but I don't know if I did it correctly. She's hard to reach if you don't have her number. But, I believe everybody should be able to come and explain why they think what they think.
Absolutely.
And, I think it's intellectually lazy for people to simply label somebody as this or that and then not really want to hear what they have to say, right? And so, but she and them have endorsed John Nix. Why do you think that they gave him that endorsement?
I don't know why or why not they endorsed him, what he told them. Obviously, I wasn't part of those conversations. But, somebody that gives an endorsement, because I've had several people in organizations endorse me. And so how I view my endorsements are what I believe in, what I stand for. These people that are endorsing me have similar beliefs, similar values, similar visions, and similar goals. And so that's where my endorsements have come from, are those people that, like, for example, I'm endorsed by both the Tyler Patrolmen's Association.
Let's put that slide up on his endorsements.
And the Tyler Professional Firefighters Association. And they know that...
We got a slide up here. The mayor has endorsed you.
Yes, he has.
The policemen, essentially the firefighters, retired police chief, and it looks like Republican Party leader David Stein.
Correct. That's some of them.
That's not all your endorsement.
Correct. And so, those people know my values. Those people and organizations know my mission and my visions and believe that their values and visions align with mine, and that's why they are choosing to support me. And so, does Joanne, believe that Mr. Nix's values closely align with her? Maybe.
On the less spending, tighter budgets, more oversight. That seems...
And whatever else they believe
right.
in.
It's hard to... That's kind of the general impression I've got from the organization, is that they're kind of a budget hawk of sorts, right?
Yeah.
But maybe she'll come on and tell us, what's good or what's bad in her opinion about, the way city government runs in Tyler.
But you are correct. What is, yes, evident is Grassroots did endorse Nix in this race.
Right. And I don't say that as if you lost out or you were a lesser candidate. I'm just simply, they're notable. We can't, they've been notable.
Sure.
Over, it seems like, their endorsement has begun to lack the the power that it used to, right?
I think so.
I mean, just from one of the recent county commissioners race, we saw what happened there, and that was not evidence that they could turn that race.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's turning a race or getting out the vote or having supporters.
Their supporters they're energetic, they're enthusiastic.
They are. They are passionate about their beliefs.
Which means they'll go out and do things like try to get on boards.
Sure.
And, other things that sometimes, might make it harder for the city to run.
Well, the perspective that I have is, whether I believe with somebody's, their beliefs or not, you should be able to have a open dialogue and be able to communicate, what your visions and beliefs are, whether you agree with that person or not.
Should be, I think. I mean, if you have an opinion and I have an opinion, those are different. And I say, this is why I feel that way. And you say the same. I don't think that makes either one of us a bad person.
I don't think so either.
And
we all have different walks of life.
Experiences in life.
Absolutely.
Right? And we all think that things should run this way.
Correct.
And other people say, well, I think it should run that way.
Correct.
But it seems like today's political environment, people are always looking for a bad guy.
Very polarizing.
Right?
Yes.
And that has brought us to a very conservative race for mayor where two people are both, Christian, Republican, conservatives, right? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, we're trying to jam a razor blade between the two guys. I mean, right? And then there are people out there like he's bad or he's bad. I mean,
I've been called a lot of bad names for some reason. Yeah, I don't know why.
Do you attribute any of that to a particular issue? Is there an issue in which, people said, oh, you're bad, or you got emails or Facebook posts or anything ugly?
I think it's attributable just to the political climate that we are in today, where loud voices want to be heard, and they may not know all of the issues or all of the facts, but what they can do is be loud and try to drive a wedge between people, and that's their way of doing it.
Now, when you say that, I can't help but think about this dadgum library, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because, when you research like I have to kind of find out where the origin of this came from, Grassroots says in 2021 that they started suggesting or putting out that there were inappropriate books in the young adult section. Best I can get. I mean, is that kind of your understanding?
So there were a lot of conversations that I have had with a lot of different residents of different ideas, different concerns in the library, and that's just one aspect of it. Where some of the concerns were, are there inappropriate materials in the children's section, or where they shouldn't be. Early on, people were wanting books to be removed, and then it was changed to books being moved.
Yeah.
And so there's a whole bunch of different things, and I've maintained the same stance on it since day one. It's not my job or the city's job to tell you and your kids what books you can or cannot read. You should be a parent to your own kids. I should be a parent to my kids. And so if you want to bring your kids into the library to check out a certain book, your kids or you should have that ability to check out a book. Now, should it be in a certain age-appropriate section? Maybe. And
that's what the issue is, from what I gather, right?
And that's why we have looked at some of our internal policies and updated some of these policies to reflect positive changes. It used to be where when a parent would go in and request a library card for their child, the child would get a library card, and there was no restriction on the card for where that child could check out a book. And so technically a child could check out a book
anywhere,
an adult section, which probably is not appropriate. And so what we did is we noticed that and said, well, we need to change the application process. And so now when a parent applies for a library card for their child, based on the age of that child, they can check out a book from that age-appropriate section unless two things. One, the parent or guardian with the kid says, no, I give permission for my child to check out a book from this section. I'm with the child and I give that permission. Or two, there's a box on the application that you can check that says, I give permission for my child to check out a book anywhere in the library.
Has the policy changed? Because, Nix is quoted in an article, and I'm not sure when this was, but it was April 2026. And he says the leadership stays silent. He's talking about the mayor and the city council, I think, and gives no direction. Employees should not be the scapegoat. And what he's saying is he's kind of acting like there's a policy that nobody would hear and nobody would vote on and nobody would do anything about. I mean, are you
so we set up we did set up a review process where now if somebody feels like a
book is bad.
Correct.
Let's say that's a bad book. And we got to look at it.
And I wouldn't say it's a bad book, but maybe somebody thinks it's in the wrong
oversimplification on my
part. Correct.
Right. It's like,
but I don't want somebody to twist your words. But
no, John Nix says, hey, look, he's acted like, it's problematic for a young adult to be 13 years to 26 years. He seemed to make that point. Like, some of those things should be in the 18 and over.
So the young adult section is 14 to 17. And there's now a subsection where some books are 18 and up. There's now stickers that are placed on books, kind of like going in, when we used to check out a movie from Blockbuster,
or a CD that said explicit
parental
language.
Advisory,
Okay,
so that is on there, and then we've also in the past couple of years changed and established a new review process where if somebody feels like a book may be in the wrong section, it's appealed, and that appeal is heard by a panel of people that consist of a retired school teacher, a retired librarian, a parent that has young kids, a child psychologist, a university professor. All of them read the book and then have a discussion on it and then vote of whether it's in the right section or should be moved to a different section.
I mean, that's just a lot of energy right there for something in the library, right? I mean, these policy changes, would you say that the criticism early on led to those changes? And if so, really, why isn't that a good thing?
I would say some of the concerns from residents that were brought to us made us look at some policies that hadn't been looked at in a long time. And so the library card application was something that I would have not have known if we hadn't looked at it.
Right. You weren't on council till 2021.
Correct.
When the inception of this started, it looks like, right?
Correct.
I mean, you wouldn't have come on saying, hey, first thing on the job, let's look at the library policies.
100% correct.
And then it was brought to your attention because it was also a political issue. It seemed to be statewide.
Correct.
Where in Republican primaries, conservative, very conservative elements between less conservative, these wedge issues, the library seemed to be one of those.
And that goes back to, you asked, why did Joanne support Nix? And maybe it's, that issue, because I'm, like I said earlier, I maintain the stance of it's a parental decision. It should not be my decision or the city's decision of what book you or your kids should read.
Well, that whole library thing seemed to be agitated by grassroots in a way. Like, I've read somewhere that, they had posted or tagged you, James Wynn, mayor, all the city council people, and David Stein on, the quote sign, right? And that they were, are you going to do something about it? Essentially, just stirring things up with the politicians. And at that time, were not policies already being implemented that were making changes?
Yeah, at that time, policy decisions were being made.
That's what I'm saying.
And had been made.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. I'm trying to get to why this agitation continued from grassroots at a time they knew that policies were either already changed or in the process of being changed to satisfy them.
I can't speak to why or what grassroots was wanting to do or think.
Is that accurate, what I just said?
I think they have their beliefs and are, just like on the county level, are wanting to see certain things done for their agenda or beliefs, just like any organization, promotes.
Well, what do you think? I mean, if you're at ground zero when it comes to the critical groups because they interface directly with our elected politicians,
Absolutely.
right? I mean, they're
from
wanting
everybody.
they're wanting to get you and say, "Hey, Stuart, this is what we think should happen." I mean, can you nutshell it on the library with grassroots?
So I hear it from all sorts of different groups.
You're saying there's other people too?
Absolutely. There's residents all across our community and groups all across our community
that have concerns,
that express concerns about not just the library. And so we have to be able to hear all residents' concerns because at the end of the day,
that's why I'm not a politician. I don't have time to listen to all that.
Right. What I want at the end of the day is for residents to feel like they have been heard, they have been understood, and we're not ignoring people. It goes back to being transparent.
Yeah, I mean, politicians, like you say, I mean, people that are more solution-oriented, like myself, patience is not a virtue, right? I mean, I don't have time to talk to everybody and hear their concern, but that's, again, I'm not an elected official, right?
Right.
I mean, and in order for democracy to feel like it's...
You want to run for mayor?
No, I do not. I do not. I'm perfectly content in the private world, but I do think I like to have these podcasts and talk to people, so that we get a clearer picture of more things that have to be considered when decisions are made, other
Absolutely.
than just a soundbite or a label, right?
Yeah, what you may hear on the news for 20 seconds or 30
right. I mean,
seconds.
you get 20 seconds, 30 seconds. The news, to me, is almost, it's not even helpful, right? I mean, by the time they mention who you are and what you're doing, and then you say a few words, I mean, that's it.
Correct. We've had, I think, since the mayor's race has started, 4, I think, different candidate forums. And when you see the news segment from those,
right.
It's a 5 to 10 second blurb on all the candidates, each candidate. And so that doesn't go into any of our answers or any of our details. And so, yeah, you got to tell people, well, go to our websites, watch the entire forum because they're all, posted, I believe, somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, but
YouTube or internet.
People aren't that, they don't put that much effort, right?
Correct.
If we put everything in an interview with you and I in a podcast at a specific location, which is, on YouTube at East Texas UNFILTERED Podcast, maybe
right.
people can access it if they're interested to hear what you think and what John Nix thinks.
Yeah, so,
that's the goal.
And so for the people that go watch the podcast and want to see, both our discussion and Nix's discussion with you, and then want follow-up information, I tell people, go look at my website. It's got my campaign platforms and the pillars that, I've been talking about throughout my campaign. It's got our endorsements like you put up there. And the same for my campaign Facebook page. It has that same type of information.
All right. We've talked about grassroots. Now, we haven't talked about Congressman Moran. I'm kind of surprised he endorsed anybody in a way, but then again, I'm not privy to the internal workings of the Republican Party. So do you have any insight on what it was that caused him to endorse Nix? I mean,
we all have our endorsements from different people. And so I don't know the inner workings of why he chose to get involved in the local race. Being in D.C., I would prefer for local people, local involvement to have a say in our local elections without sway from outsiders. So I don't know why he, got involved or wanted to get involved. But everybody has.
He might have been encouraged to get involved,
and that I don't know.
Right, and all these questions. Because Tyler is a great place and we're separating ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
We can talk about Nathaniel. We can question why he did what he did, but at the same time, we know Nathaniel, and we know that he's a good person, and we know that he's not a bad guy, right?
Correct.
And it's the same with a lot of people involved, right? I mean,
Correct.
even though we go, hey, man, why'd he do that? Grassroots. Well, that doesn't mean Nathaniel's a bad guy. It might just
I
mean
agree.
he got a little pressure, grassroots. His district goes way into other districts all the way to the border.
Yeah.
They may have some sway down there, and so maybe he felt obligated. I don't know.
I don't know, so
but
I can't
certainly-
comment on that.
Certainly, they can hurt him in his district more than they can, help you, right? Or more than he can help you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And I'm just speculating, but I mean, it sounds like, because do you think of an issue that Nathaniel said, well, hey, Stuart, I really don't agree with you on this, or I think you ought to be doing this or advocating. Have you heard anything like that?
If that is out there, I don't know, because when I saw the endorsement, it was just an endorsement of Nick's. And so I don't know if it's a specific issue of he wants to see XYZ done or done a certain way. I don't know. I can't offer a comment on that.
We, the general public who are not part of, the Republican Party establishment, like, we just kind of assume that you guys talk to each other, right? I mean, you would think like, you see guys at, anytime y'all got a shovel in your hand, every one of you are standing there.
Right.
Y'all are throwing dirt, taking pictures like, hey, that new project, everybody's throwing. So I'm just figuring y'all talk to each other. And in those conversations, I just assume somebody would say, well, hey, if there was anything, they say, hey, I think you ought to do this or think about that. And there really hadn't been anything. Well, it seems like the election is almost coming down to trying to find something, in the candidates to argue about, right? I mean,
right.
And it seems to have migrated simply to budgeting for projects.
So the way I kind of boil it down is I'm the candidate that is promoting where we have come in the city of Tyler. We are now the second best place to live in the state of Texas, and we have a lot of good going for us. We have a lot of progress that's being made, and I want to see us continue to capitalize on this momentum that we have, not cut it off and stop it and regress.
What could hurt us in your mind? Like, what could we do or not do that you believe, as your campaign says, momentum, what would stop the momentum?
Stop investing in our quality of life. That would attract new businesses, that would attract new employees. Stop collaborating with our local school districts, our 3 institutions of higher education, our Economic Development Council.
Which means we collect taxes to support UT Tyler and TJC. That's what you're saying.
And Texas College.
And Texas College, that's right. And those, in turn, provide educated workers or trained workers in regard to especially TJC.
100%. Absolutely.
So there's a collaborative effort that if you look at it, with a telescope, you might not see really how the overall plan benefits the city as much as it does.
And if you're not able to work with those groups and you're alienating those groups or criticizing those groups, it then becomes a hindrance of the greater good and the overall progress of our city.
Also, I believe cynicism. That is, people don't believe what politicians say a lot of times. They
100%.
think, they exaggerate numbers and they overstate this and overstate, and so people get cynical, right?
And that's why when you're asking me questions about the water bond, without that specific information in front of me, I don't want to say, well, it's this rate or this year.
I wasn't hoping or thinking we'd have a actual rate talk.
Yeah.
But, it comes to mind, the TJC bond failed.
Yes.
It did not seem like it was well promoted from just me looking and listening to see who was talking about it ahead of time. Did you feel that way?
The feedback that I received was, I wish there were more informational sessions. I wish there was more information out there for why people should vote for it, whether you were, in favor of it or against it. That was the biggest feedback that I got, was there should have been more information. There should have been more, call it a public information session, something where people could then have more information and not just here's the bond, here's the day, we're voting on it.
Did any of the
type deal.
trustees come out and support it?
I don't know. And I don't know if they can.
Yeah, I don't either. I saw something that said, and you may be right. Somebody may have said what I saw, which is, hey, none of the trustees supported it. And it may be something against them being able to do that.
Just like if the city of Tyler were to go out for a bond, city council members could not say, hey, I'm for this or against it. It has to be up to the public.
You can't even
decide.
say it's a good idea, even though you've come up with it.
Right. Just like the mayor could, or like the county judge, when they went out for the courthouse bond, he couldn't say vote yes on it or vote no on it. He's, his position was you got to do, your own homework. Now, obviously, they wouldn't be promoting it if it was something that they didn't want to do.
Right. I mean, they wouldn't have it.
Right. And so you could, infer that, but yeah, you can't. And so I don't know if it's the same for the trustees or not, but you can't say, vote yes, vote no.
It seems like TJC is going to have to get a little bit tighter on their messaging to me. Like, for instance, the way we're doing it here. You can't just say, hey, give me $50 million for information and safety. And people go, what's information and safety?
You know who you should have on your podcast is Dr. Juan Mejia. And
people have told me that.
He would do it. He would come on, and because he is all about open communication and conversations, and I think he would be great, a great one for you to have on your podcast.
Well, we certainly we'll leave an open invitation for him because I know they're going to come back to the well and try to do this bond again at some point.
At some point, you would think so.
And I think if he hears me, he should come back fully loaded for an explanation in the 3 categories of budgeted items that totaled that $167 million bond. Right. And
you can. I don't think you can ever give the public too much information.
And I think he should come back refuting the suggestion that they threw a half-baked, half-hearted 167 out there so that they could come back at 125 and pretend like they'd made some cuts.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and I don't know if they just gave it a shot because of the low turnout of the race that it was paired with.
Right. And instead of doing it at a November general election, I don't know.
The political cynic in me says they thought that the most aggressive, enthusiastic voters would come out and they were likely for the bond. But that clearly didn't work.
Did not happen.
And, sometimes it doesn't happen. For instance, the courthouse.
Right.
It took multiple times for the courthouse. And like you said, I think there was a period of education over time.
Correct.
And people began to realize the need and the benefit that it would provide.
Correct. Same for the Tyler ISD bonds.
Right.
Early on, there was a lot of, if you want to call it pushback.
Resistance.
And some that didn't pass. But then the information came out and there was a clear delineation of, well, here's why it's needed and good compared to, no information at all.
Part of that included attracting businesses, like you said, with regard to quality of life.
100%.
And now we have a pretty nice setup with regard to the public schools.
Every building within Tyler ISD is, I want to say 18 years or newer, which for a school district our size is unheard of.
Yeah.
And maybe it's 15 years, but it's something like that.
Well, TJC also has the capacity to make the argument, and Scott Martinez made it as well, is that, they've developed training for supplying skilled workers and that they're interfacing with companies here and potentially companies that want to locate here. And so they are
absolutely
kind of a partner, if you will, at the same time while they're educating people.
Absolutely.
And if the more people understand that, I think the more people would be on board for a bond for upgrades. I don't know how old their stuff is, or, some of it's pretty old.
I think some of it is.
I mean, I stayed in a dorm at Apache or TJC tennis camp when I was in, middle school.
It could be the same dorm.
I mean, it might not have been updated since. I mean,
right.
Well, the differences in yours and a Nix administration, let's go to the multiverse.
Okay.
Right? We've got parallel universes. Okay. John Nix is elected. He leads the next 6 years until he's term limited versus Stuart Hene is elected. He leads the next 6. Tell me just optically, visually, what do you see different in the city depending on who led and who went forward and won?
If I'm mayor, you're going to see a lot of continued development and progress of attracting new businesses to town. A lot of what's taking place on the west side of the loop, downtown.
The West Loop is finally being developed.
Absolutely. And so it's not just something that is geared or centered towards one small area of town. I think he wants to develop the southeast side of town, and he has his reasons why. Whereas I want to
He's a developer in that area?
I want to develop.
And the West Loop didn't get any tax abatements either.
So there's a TERS, there's a PID over there, a Public Improvement District. That agreement's not finalized yet. But that's, another tool in the tool belt.
Yeah, I don't know all the tools in the belt, Steve. I mean,
Sure. So, it's growth for the entirety of the city.
Yeah, it's filling out that western side.
That's needed.
And it's with shopping, a grocery store, Stanley's Barbecue.
You have some multifamily that is interested in coming, within an apartment complex, but you also have some green space over there. That would be great to build out. And so you have a lot.
Helps with traffic?
Absolutely.
I mean, right, if you stay in your area?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
absolutely.
If the city's equally built out over time, grocery stores, like you said, living spaces, restaurants, then people aren't just driving, just all over the city all at once.
Correct.
I mean, I don't know if I'm a visionary, but I just thought of that.
Right. It could be right. And then the other thing I think where we can, capitalize on some of the resources that we have is collaborating together with our 3 higher education institutions, the 2 hospitals that we have in the med school, because I think the healthcare industry is one of our biggest industries, top employers, where why not, we're known for that in the region.
Nursing college came about from that.
Correct. Why can't we be known, not only across the state, but across the nation, where we become a hub for
training,
biomechanical research, biomedical research, development of pharmaceuticals, whatever it may be in that med realm. We can be that hub. And so it's everybody working together, though, the city, the county, the health care industry.
Yeah, because UT
TJC,
Health
UT Tyler.
UT Health's outside the city limits.
Correct.
So, I mean.
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to ask you 6 questions that I ask former Councilman Nix. And then after you answer those, if there's anything else you want to say, I'll give you the floor to say it before we close. Okay. The first one was just simply one that, one would expect you to tell us about. Why do you want to be mayor?
I want to be mayor for what I talked about earlier, for all of Tyler, for making Tyler the best place to live, not just for us, but for future generations. Yes, we're the second best place to live in the state of Texas. Why can't we be the best place to live? We have a lot of momentum going for us, and we need to continue that momentum so we can be the best place to live in the state of Texas.
All right. And this one is more specific as to this moment in time. Why will you be a better mayor at this moment in time as opposed to some other moment in time?
It's because of the work that Mayor Warren has started that we need to continue and build off of, not stop and regress backwards, but continue the momentum that we have. And I'm the one that has the vision and the commitment to continuing that vision and that momentum where we can become the best place to live in the state of Texas.
And your administration, whoever comes in, you or former Councilman Nix, there will be overlap. Some of the projects that Don Warren initiated have to be completed, right?
Absolutely.
And some of the conversations, I would assume, about how that gets done, why it's important, are present with the current council members.
Absolutely. And so that cohesiveness where everybody is rowing in the same direction, everybody has been collaborating for the same end goal, really is important compared to somebody that has been very critical of council, but then may come on as mayor and expect that council to work with him and want, the same vision may not happen because of how critical he has been of people that have been serving on council that he expects to then, jump on the same vision as him.
When you say critical of council, what would you say would be, two of, if you can think of things that he's been critical of, as a candidate as opposed to being a council person?
He is trying to classify himself, I believe, as an outsider.
Right.
Has not been part of a lot of, what has taken place over the past 12 years, even though he has been on council. And he's been very critical of staff. He's been very critical of council, and especially with the downtown project. And so that
just critical of the way it was implemented,
funded, even though it was funded the majority through half-cent sales tax, which is why he voted no on it.
Okay, so the downtown square project, for people that are, this is a lot of information, right?
Correct.
You're saying it was funded with, half-cent sales tax.
And a little bit of ARPA money.
Okay. And that means some COVID money we didn't use?
Correct.
Okay. Which would seem to be a nice, smart business decision.
Absolutely.
I mean, right?
Short answer, absolutely.
I mean,
no bond. No debt.
I mean, I think when people watch this, they have to look at you and listen to what you've said and how you've answered, and look at what he said and what he's answered, and decide whether or not, the reasons you say we should have done something and are doing it right versus the criticisms and how small they are in relation to, really, what is he really critical of,
Correct.
And it seems to be that we could have saved some money. We could have finished it faster, right? I mean, and I'm not getting on him, but I'm saying those are two criticisms that anybody can make about anything, anytime.
Absolutely.
Hey, you should have done it cheaper and you could have done it faster.
Absolutely, and that that goes back to what I said about Cambridge Bend. When you try to rush it, when you try to under-engineer it, and then you come up amongst problems.
That was on your watch, Stu.
It wasn't on mine.
Oh, it wasn't?
No, that was a project that my opponent pushed. And when he was on council, that he wanted.
Because that's the road, Cambridge, that comes off the loop. I mean, off of Broadway, and it curves around to Jeff Davis.
Correct.
And I remember, I thought, well, good, they need to widen this road and put some curbs on it, but it took forever.
It did. It was focused on benefiting those neighborhoods back there that were currently being developed. And
who was developing back then?
I will let the viewers and the listeners do their research of who was developing those neighborhoods back there.
Okay. Are you saying that road benefited, John Nix and his business?
I am saying that I will let the viewers and the listeners do their research of who was developing back there.
I'll take this as a yes.
At the same time of who was a proponent for that project, for it to be done quickly, instead of being engineered correctly and appropriately.
Now, total fairness to him, at least on the first point, that project needed to get done. Agreed? That Cambridge Road need to be updated.
Some of it probably.
Because, it was just...
there were some probably drainage aspects of
blacktop, no curbs,
which goes to the drainage aspect of it. Sure.
So, yeah, it needs to be done. But, are you saying that he was somehow involved in it being under-engineered and that led to it taking longer?
What I am saying is now how projects are evaluated on the half-cent sales tax
is different than when that project was evaluated?
Absolutely.
Okay. What happened? Did that project cause a reevaluation?
Absolutely. Projects are now looked at whether they benefit the entirety of the city, or, like I was mentioning earlier, one small neighborhood or one small section, because you're using tax dollars from the entirety of the city. And so you need to evaluate a project, rank it accordingly. How important is it to the entirety of the city?
But it would bring houses that are built and property tax revenue, which is one of the three legs of the city's budget.
Sure.
Right? Again, we're almost splitting hairs because none of these ideas are bad, right? I mean, because you're probably for development that leads to further development.
Absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
And, but you're also telling us something that should be, music to people's ears, which is the city also learns from mistakes.
Correct.
And improves when something doesn't go just right. And
Absolutely.
And that reevaluation is taking place. But unfortunately for the people who lived off Cambridge, it's been a long time.
That project took a long time.
Well, that's a sore subject. Isn't it? I don't know. How long did that take?
I know that when Councilman Curtis came on council, that project became his, and he was glad to see it completed.
It was in his district?
It's in his district. He just termed out this week. Yesterday was Wednesday, and District 6 is that district, and he inherited that project when he came on council.
All right. At the end of 6 years, let's look at it. You've carried this momentum or continued it that you say you want to do.
Absolutely.
Can you see new things, new projects, new possibilities in the city of Tyler that people really don't have awareness of because they're not privy to the conversations you are?
Absolutely. More connectivity, where you see long-term, a connectivity piece or a trail system from TJC through the hospital district to downtown.
I've heard about that.
Yeah.
I have heard that because I had Nick Pence's, owner of Stanley's, on the show.
Absolutely.
He owns parcels of land and has talked about, kind of a trail system that connected.
It'd be great.
I mean, it would be great.
That connectivity piece would be great. And that's, you see a lot more people.
People would enjoy it.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that, again, goes to your quality of life argument.
Correct. So you see projects like that. You also see some of the area that hasn't been developed, whether it's downtown or on the outskirts of downtown, start to get developed.
Because of it.
Absolutely. And so you have more people willing to be outside and do things, which increases quality of life. Yeah. Attracts new businesses.
And, the one thing he said, which may be appropriate to this campaign, was that he said everything in the city moves so slow, that in Tyler, it'll take a long time for this ever to become a reality. And hopefully that's not true.
I would hope it's not true as well.
You may be responsible if you're elected, to try to get something
push
going.
Things along. Absolutely.
And it would take a trail. I guess it wouldn't be that much money to,
And what grants are available where you can, look at alternative funding sources.
Federal,
Parks and wildlife,
outdoor, environmental, whatever you want to call it, right? And get somebody down in the city that knows how to request
apply
these
for
grants.
A grant. That's exactly right.
Get somebody with some knowledge,
that's
man.
That's exactly right.
All right. Now I know the answer to this, but I'm gonna put it out there. You believe in coordinating with the county and the TEDC, and that's being pretty important.
I don't think we could get done what we need to get done if we are operating in a silo. We have taken, I missed this year's trip due to the campaign.
To Carolina?
To South Carolina. But year before, went to Huntsville, Alabama. Year before, went to Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Just to look at what other cities had done.
That have already done their downtown revitalization, and to see the benefits of what has happened since, and to see that 10x return of public-private investments. And the consensus that I took away from those trips and the questions that I asked is, how are you doing this? And it's a commonality. You have the city, you have the county, you have the school districts, and you have the higher education systems, all with the same goal, all rowing in the same direction. How do we make our community better? You don't have a county goal, you don't have a city goal, you don't have a school district goal. It's all people with the same common goal of how do we make our community better.
Everybody might have to agree to take a little less in order for the group to do better.
Correct.
Right. And then if somebody's criticizing the county by themselves for, taking a little less or doing something, then it looks like in a vacuum that they're not doing right. But if you're judging
if you step back and look at it from, okay, how does this benefit the community as a whole, not just for today, but 20, 30, 40 years down the road, there's your answer.
Well, and I thought it was interesting. I never really thought about this before. Looking at a place that already revitalized downtown and seeing, what could happen
Right.
in the areas around it as far as economic development.
Absolutely.
And then, the city would be in a better position, I would think, to talk about rebates, abatements, and whether they were appropriate or not based on what they'd seen.
Absolutely.
Because,
Which is the reason those trips were taken, is to, okay, these cities, yes, a little bigger in size, but similar type.
We don't have a perfect example out there of Tyler, Texas.
You're exactly right. Because,
we are,
for example,
very unique.
We are very unique. But like the Greenville trip that they just took, the city itself, population-wise, is smaller than Tyler, but they are a countywide population, a metro population that's bigger than Smith County.
Which Smith County is what, 250?
Roughly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Here's your last question. And what has Don Warren done well as a mayor?
I think Don Warren has done well is loving people, treating people with respect, whether it's people in the community from all angles of the community, and more importantly, the staff camaraderie, the staff connections that he has made, where people want to work, where people want to put their best foot forward for the benefit of our community, for the benefit of our city. He has brought everybody to the table together where everybody has a voice and has been heard, where we all have that common goal of how do we make Tyler, Texas the best place to live and the best place to work and the best place to raise a family. And his heart for the city, people see that because he's present. He is accountable, and he wears his heart on his sleeve for how he ends every single conversation is love your neighbor.
Yeah. And I really believe that his parks project was an extension of that love your neighbor.
100%.
Just knowing him, having him on the podcast and asking him those kind of questions, it just seemed like, his influence may have changed the trajectory of the council members as far as factoring in quality of life and care of your neighbor. I don't know that, but he's had 6 years and been a pretty big influence in that regard.
Absolutely.
And some of his critics, I think they don't take that into consideration near as much as I think they should.
They don't appreciate that.
Because the overall mental health of the city as a complete place is probably better. People are probably friendlier, happier, than they would be if they felt disenfranchised.
I agree. I think so.
All right. Stuart, if you've got anything you want to say to the people who are going to go to the polls, early voting June 1st, election June 13, have at it.
I would say for those that, may be on the fence about going to vote and thinking, well, my voice isn't heard or my vote doesn't count, I would tell you the complete opposite is true. Your vote matters. Every single vote matters in this race because it is a low turnout, because the previous election was a low turnout, and I think the runoff will be even lower. And so does a church group or a neighborhood or a group of people, coming together change an election? It could, because every vote truly does matter. And the way I explain it to people for why your vote truly is important is if you were to pick up the phone and call the White House, are you going to, talk to the president? No.
I might.
Yeah.
Ordinary people won't. But he probably, I don't know if he'd take my call either.
And then same for Austin. If you pick up the phone and call the governor's mansion, are you going to be able to talk to the governor?
Probably not.
Probably not. But if you pick up the phone and want to talk to your council person or the mayor, you're going to get that person on the phone because we live in the community with you. We work in the community with you. We raise our kids in the community with you. The decisions we make not only affect you, but affect me and my family as well. And so we're here with you. And we are, not just accountable, but accessible. And so why not go make your voice heard for those that are making the decisions that affect all of us?
Well, I wish I could get Petra Hawkins on the phone. I can't ever get her on the phone. That's my person. I'm in her district.
You're in her district?
I am. How many people voted in the runoff election?
Just over 9. Oh, in the runoff? Nobody yet, because the runoff hasn't happened.
I meant what caused the runout.
So there were less than 10,000 people
that's what I was
voted. So it was roughly a 9% voter turnout.
What do you expect from historical turnout about this runoff election, numbers-wise?
It could be half.
Okay. Isn't that wild? 4,500 people.
Deciding the mayor of Tyler, Texas.
The mayor of our city.
The size of a city that we have, 115,000 people.
Well,
which is why I'm encouraging everybody to get out and vote.
Well, Stuart, thank you for giving us all this time today, and I hope it benefits the voters to get to know, who you are, what you're all about, and make their decision.
Absolutely. Chad, thank you very much for having me on your show. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and visit with me and learn more about me. And if the voters have other questions, I encourage people to go to my website or my Facebook page, which is just my name, so easy to find.
Stuart Hene.
Yeah, my time right now.